Hi, I'm Chuck Gallagher, and my guest is Val DeFord. If you have been following this series, you know we're talking about men's health, we're talking about prostate health. We've gone down a lot, I can't talk, what can you say? We've gone down a lot of rabbit holes, and we're going deeper. And I hope that some of the things we're talking about answer some of the questions that you have. Well, I know you have because you've written, you've asked, we've heard you, and that's why we're producing this.
Well, you talk about questions. When you were told that your cancer at that stage was probably not going to be life-threatening, as early prostate cancer just usually is not, what two questions were there for you?
Well, okay, I'm going to live. Then it's like, how am I going to live? What is that experience going to be like? And the two things that consistently always came up was the issue of incontinence and the issue of erectile function. And early on, gosh, Val, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm not sure which was more important. They both are important for entirely different reasons.
Right. Well, you're a public figure. You're out and about. So let's just look at incontinence.
Okay.
You're up there on stage, you're doing your thing, and the next thing you know, you're feeling a little dampness down your leg. It's not a good look. It's not a good feel. It's going to mess with your head, even if no one else sees it.
That's absolutely true.
So the whole issue of incontinence, since we've been taught from the time we're tiny people, you can't wet yourself. And if you do it, if you're in the middle of junior high school, oh, people are going to rib you for the rest of the time that they know you. So you've been taught, you've been socialized that urinating on yourself is just terrible, it's bad character, it's whatever it is, but it's just something that we have been trained as a really bad thing. So you want to know how much will it affect you, and it affects different people differently. Some people have little to no incontinence. They might just have it under a stressful situation, and other people may not have any control at all.
Right.
But there are ways to get to that.
Right. The thing that really struck me, and again, I'm deeply grateful for the experience that I had at Johns Hopkins. But I remember sitting down with the doctor, first consultation, which lasted an hour and a half, and I was shocked that he would take the time to answer the enormity of the questions that I had. But he said to me, he said, look, he said, number one, we don't need to rush into anything. I was like, yes. He said, two issues, incontinence, sexual function. He said, now, from an incontinence perspective, I'm going to put it in a way you can understand. He said, men control the flow of urine predominantly two ways. He said, one, there's a little sphincter. He says, like a little hose bib.
Right.
You know, right at the base of the bladder, they can turn off and turn on. And he said, when we do surgery, we're functionally going to cut that off. So your little hose bib's gone. He said, the other thing that for men typically controls the flow of urine or helps is your prostate. Oh, but we're going to remove that. He said, so, Chuck, you've lived 47 years. And he said, by the time we have surgery, the reality is we're going to remove the two primary methods that you have to control the flow of urine.
Right.
So you got to learn a different method. So one of the reasons we're not going to rush into surgery is I want you to learn how to control, they'll probably pronounce it wrong, your Kegel muscles or something.
Okay, so it's not a Kegel muscle.
Okay.
Kegel was the doctor who perfected the exercise to make your PUBOCOCCYGEUS muscles, that base of the pelvis, strong and for you to be able to control it. So we call it the PC muscle.
Okay, so we'll be politically correct and call it the PC muscle.
It'll be the PC muscle.
Okay. So the way the doctor put it to me, and we'll call it the PC muscle, is he said, look, he said, women typically use the PC muscle more to help control the flow of urine than guys do because you don't have a prostate.
Right.
Okay? So he said, you've got to learn how to use that. So he said, over the course of the next 6 months, every time you go to the bathroom, you're standing up to pee. He said, what I want you to do is just use that muscle and stop it. Start it, stop it, start it. He said, I am preparing you for a marathon. And he said, if you're going to run a marathon, you have to prepare so there is muscle memory. He said, now I'm going to go in surgically and remove your hose bib, and I'm going to remove your prostate, And he said, you'll have a catheter for a period of time, but when the catheter is removed,
Yes.
there's nothing functionally, so you've got to have muscle memory to know how to use your PC muscle so that the probability of incontinence lasting for any period of time is minimized.
Right. And I want to say that if there are men out there who are working on the PC muscle, if they're doing Kegel exercises because they want to continue to have penetration longer so that they don't ejaculate prematurely, they do not do that same exercise when they are urinating. So it's the opposite.
Okay.
Okay, because it can actually create some problems for them. So I just want to clarify, do the Kegel exercises differently when you're preparing for surgery versus if you're using it to help delay ejaculation.
Okay. Now see, straight up as we're sitting here, I didn't know there was an exercise to delay ejaculation.
Yes.
So, you know, maybe that's another rabbit hole at some point in time to go down for another series, but that's part of the reason we have Valdeforin here, because you know those things that are beneficial for men's health. The thing that I will say is I have talked with, at this point in time, probably hundreds of men about what their experience was. And it is a minuscule percentage that has ever had a doctor say to them, prepare in advance, learn to use your PC muscle so that the incontinence is practically a non-issue following surgery.
Right. Well, and you see, this is why I say you did the right thing. You talked to people, you did some research. You didn't even know that he would be a person who would sit with you for 90 minutes.
I had no clue.
And tell you why we're going to wait, because we're going to get you ready for that marathon. We're going to have you in the best possible shape so that once your surgery is over, once the catheter is removed, you are not concentrating on, oh my God, now I'm going to wet myself. Oh my God, I got to wear these briefs. Oh my God. So that is the ideal type of healthcare provider who is looking at you as the whole person, not just a procedure, but what is the quality of your life after the cancer has been removed.
Absolutely. And Val, as a side note, 4 weeks after surgery, I took a new job in Dallas, Texas. And I thought to myself, wow, yeah, I had a pad just in case. But there were a couple of things that I learned, really practical things. Thing number one, in the early stages, you probably want to wear dark pants.
Yes.
Because if you happen to have an accident against dark pants is not as noticeable as it is against khakis.
Right.
So we might want to think about that. Secondarily, you want to make sure that you are protected. And two other points that I learned, one almost the hard way, was if you're out to lunch and you're sitting there with colleagues and you're drinking iced tea or whatever it happens to be, go to the bathroom before you leave, because you may feel nothing. And then when you do feel it, it's like,
now.
oh my God, we have got to find a place to go or I am going to mess up your leather seats and it's going to be ugly. So I learned, pay attention to that. And at night, I also learned after about 6 p.m., it's probably best for me not to consume liquids, because there would be a far greater chance that the evening or the night would be a dry night.
Right.
Even though for a period of time I wore Depends, and after a month with no accidents, it was like, I don't need this.
And they're expensive.
Well, you know, I wasn't frankly worried so much about the money as I have to mess with the sheets and so forth. But the truth was, if I controlled when I had an intake of liquid, I was much more able to be aware of what was taking place. And quite frankly, after 6 months, it was a non-issue. Just never thought about it.
Well, the other thing too is the amount that you're drinking and what you're drinking. Anything that's caffeinated or has alcohol in it, or if it's really spicy, may be something that irritates your bladder. So when your bladder is irritated, then it's going to want to get stuff out of it. So that's high sugar, high alcohol, high caffeine. Your bladder wants to get rid of all of that. So if you're going to have those type substances, then you want to work around when it's most convenient for you to have more frequency, or let's say urgency. It's like,
Right.
okay, we got to go, and we got to go now. And it's not good if you're in the middle of the highway stuck in a traffic jam.
Absolutely. Valda, that's good information. I'm Chuck Gallagher. We've been talking about men's health, especially prostate health. Stay tuned with us through this process, because I promise you, if you've ever had a question, likely we're going to have the answer and some really practical advice that'll be beneficial to you.